TV. This program is brought to you by Rogers Xfinity, connecting you to more of what you love. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
Hello and welcome to HealthLink, a program connecting home, community, and healthcare. My name is Carol Merton, and today I'm delighted to welcome two guests to the program. David Sereda, co-producer of Sheatre, and Joan Chandler, artistic director of Sheatre, who are here to talk to us about a really exciting workshop that they are involved in, as well as additional programming in our community that you might have an interest in attending. The workshop is Out of the Blues, and I'm just so delighted to know about this, but also to be able to share the information. So welcome to both of you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Carol.
So with all the snow that we've had, I must say, I do confess, I'm one of those in the blue or in the blues individuals. But I wonder if you can tell me and our listening and viewing audience about Out of the Blues workshop. What exactly is that?
Well, I'll begin just by talking about the title and then Dave pick up. Yeah. So often in the winter, we do feel a little down. It's like, oh, I just wish I could do something other than sit and look at the snow, particularly when there's this much snow. And so that's where Out of the Blues comes from. And this is an arts-based workshop, an experiential workshop, and using your imagination, working with other people just to play and have fun. And that's where ideas come out of the blue. So, out of the blues and into some out of the blue fun and creativity.
Now, this is for adults, though.
Yeah, adults can have fun.
I that's what captured me, and I know you'll talk more about what you do in the workshops, but I thought, how often do adults really get a chance to just be creative and have fun? And it almost is a remember when in many ways to explore that inner self and inner creativity. David, what would you like to add to that?
Sure. So, if you are on your own, you can be in a kind of a gloomy mood or very introspective or very much in your head. But as soon as you come into, even with one other person or a group of people, and something positive is proposed, it's amazing how that can change your mood, how that can lift you up, and to do something creative and to spark off each other. It's something that happens again and again and again. And that's what we've been finding for these first few workshops that we've had. And workshop is an interesting word because it's a workshop, but in the workshop, we're playing all the time. And you're absolutely right, Carol. People do kind of remember back and say, oh, I remember doing this when I was a kid. I remember making up songs when I was a kid, or telling stories, or just making stuff up out of just somebody had an idea and then you ran with it. But that's what we're doing, is we're using theater and music and all kinds of different arts actually to inspire our group to play and to come up with stuff. It
needs to be a fun shop, not a workshop.
Yeah. A play shop.
Play shop is even better.
Yeah.
So whose idea was this? How did it even come to be?
Well, a year ago, David and I were looking at the work that we were doing that was about social issues and very valuable community engagement work that looked at social change. We said, well, one of those ways of creating social change is, in fact, to use light, to use fun, to bring, as David said, bring people together. And that in that kind of engagement let's just lighten up, have fun, and it's great for the soul and great for us as individuals, but also as a community. So it's about community engagement and community betterment using a fun format. And we thought, oh, middle of winter, who couldn't want that? I want that. Let's do that for ourselves.
Yes.
And
Now,
for others.
so you did the creation of the idea because together you thought about this. But what's interesting is where it's located and what you use in that environment. So, Gray Roots, tell me how you chose that and how you involve the artifacts in the programming.
Mm-hmm. Well, Grey Roots is one of the places in the Owen Sound area or in Grey Bruce, that really kind of opens their doors to public programming.
Mm-hmm.
If you've got an idea, they're very approachable. And we had this idea where we said, hey, if you've got room, we would love to have this workshop with older adults over 55. And they said yes. And then we said, there's a limit of how many people can come to the workshops. But each week, we bring in a guest artist who has either a local involvement or they've been locally involved in the community that they live in. And every week they work with our adults, our participants, right? But they also give an artist talk that's open to the community. So at lunchtime, you come and you get it's a lunch and learn. So you register for the artist talk, you get a lunch, and then you hear fascinating stories about how this artist or this other artist are community engaged, what their art is like, what inspired them. And it's wonderful. And so it's another way. Let's say you don't want to commit to an entire Wednesday, but you could commit to an hour and you want to get a burst of creativity and expand your mind. And it's really lovely to have to be in conversation with an artist, as opposed to, let's say, watching it on TV or listening to the radio or on social media. You're live in the room, you can ask questions, and it's been wonderful. With the first two artists that we've had were Ron Schweitzer, who builds all sorts of amazing things out of unusual and everyday objects and transforms them, like a canning pot into a cello that's playable,
Wow.
Or a guitar out of a biscuit tin and a stick. The other person that we had just 2 days ago was Coco Love Alcorn, who leads this wonderful choir called the Wonderland Singers, and she's been guests at choirs all over Canada and the States. And here she is living in Owen Sound. So we talked with her about the importance of singing in community and growing up with music and sharing your music with everybody, and that everybody has a voice. So inspiring.
So you basically let people know you were going to start this activity, and people signed up. Are you full? Is the registration still open, or are you full?
I think we're full because the train has left the station. I mean, we're already starting, to develop ideas and to create things together. I mean, are we going to say no if somebody beats down the door and says, please, please, please let us be involved?
No, we will not shut the door.
We will not shut the door. So although we are very full, yes, in the next little while, if somebody wants to join, that would be wonderful.
We're still at the beginning of this workshop, and so ideas are beginning to percolate. Stories are being told, and you begin through this process to create trust in the group, to really create a family within the group, a strong dynamic, and you carry forward the things the stories that have been told, or the skills that you've learned, or the song that you started to create. And so at this stage of the game, I would say, yeah, if you want to come, contact David, and we'll see if that's possible for you.
Yeah.
After that, we're probably too far into the process to bring in additional people.
Mm-hmm.
Now the process.
So now's your chance.
Now's your chance, yes. And you can get to me at email engage@sheatre.com.
Okay.
But one thing that I didn't answer, and you asked about, oh well, you're at the museum and are you working with the artifacts? We're about to start doing that. But as a way into that, one of the things we asked the participants to do was to bring an object that meant something to them.
Yeah.
And then when they did that, we asked, well, tell us a story about why did you bring this object?
Yeah.
And it's amazing what can come out of that process and what it reveals and the stories that came out of that. So that is a way of beginning to see how objects all have stories. We can, if we don't know the story, we can imagine how we relate to it. Maybe that object has some meaning to us. Maybe we see it in the museum and we say, oh my gosh, I remember when, etc. So being in a group is great because you can have all of these different perspectives weighing in on that one thing.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing you say is through the use of art, artifacts, and artists, you're actually building community by people being together and sharing together. And also building community linkages because one story may resonate with someone else's story.
Yep. Yep.
So it creates those important synapses between community and energy. Joan, I read in the long media release, I gather there's a short one and there's a long one. So I was reading the long one and you've quoted the conversations that spring up when you handle an artifact or an old photograph can be quite lively. They vulcanize a whole new world in art. Vulcanize. What do you mean by vulcanize? I think I understand, but
it's like an eruption of ideas.
yeah.
And so to me, it's like a volcano,
Yeah.
but a beautiful, fiery, passionate volcano that when the lava comes out, we can all, roast our marshmallows over it. It's not going to burn us. It will help to invigorate us and feed us in some way. That's what I mean.
Thank you. That word just captured me, and I just needed to be sure that I understood. That's another creative thing, right? The use of words. David, I know just before the program we had talked about, if people wanted to join, but you also had held up a poster and you talked about, in addition, there's something else. So I'm wondering if you wouldn't mind talking about that before I go on to some other questions about the workshop.
Yeah, so these Out of the Blues workshops, they happen every Wednesday at Grey Roots. But in the middle of the day, we break up the day with lunch and an artist talk and the artist talk is from the guest artist that week. And those talks, the lunch and learns, they're open to anyone. They're $20 for the lunch and learn. And some of the people that we've had already, I think I mentioned Ron Schweitzer, a local puppet maker and instrument maker, and does all sorts of amazing things with taking cardboard and turning it into a monster or something, and engages people in his love of making things from seemingly nothing. Coco Love Alcorn came and visited this week and led us in singing. But upcoming next
Not
week,
just singing, but spontaneous songwriting as well.
That's true. So that's the other thing, is that although we can warm up our voices by singing a song that everyone knows, but once we do that, oh, let's just improvise. So Coco is fearless. She's a fearless improviser, and that kind of approach to singing is infectious. And she makes you understand that you can do it too, but you just have to try. So we set up that atmosphere where we're encouraging each other and saying, well, why not? If not now, we're not too old to do it. Let's do it. Some of the other people that are coming up next week is, well, I'm not sure when this is going to air, but I'll just say the dates. Well, February 19th, we've got Anna Gaby-Trotz, who is a printmaker and a photographer, and she's worked with Sheatre before on our project called Be Our Ally. Amazing. Lenore Kishig, who is a traditional Anishinaabe storyteller and guide and naturalist and poet. She's on the 26th. Adela Cleverly, who is a dancer and runs a dance studio in town, and works with all ages with exploring the joy of dance. Kit Bolter is going to join us during March break on March the 12th. And then Liz Zetlin, our former poet laureate, is going to come in on March 19th. And I mean, Liz has done so many different things. When she was poet laureate, she involved the whole community in all of these different activities. But she's also an avid gardener. She's an activist in terms of climate. And she'll talk about her work in community. So these talks are open to everybody. So it's great for you to give us a platform to let people know about them.
We had another artist who was ready to come and unfortunately needed to withdraw for health reasons. And perhaps we will be able to have him come back.
Yeah.
David, you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yes, absolutely. So that idea of being locally connected and then using that local connection in your art, well, that is exactly what Tony Miller does. He is an artist whose roots go back so far in this community. Both sides of his family, his ancestors came up on the Underground Railroad and escaped slavery from the South. Moved to the Owen Sound area, and actually his maybe great grandfather was the first lay minister of the BME church here, and once one of the founders of the Emancipation Picnic, which has been going for over 160 some years. So deep, deep roots, and those roots in the community and family story, really, he explores his identity and his history through his art, which is painting and sculpture and printmaking. He lives right here. He's an award-winning artist, and he's got a huge amount to share. So all of these artists do. We're very blessed.
As you were describing how the workshop unfolds, and certainly in the media release as well, you talk about focusing on the creative process and not the creative product. And sometimes as adults, we get tied up and twisted around the product rather than the journey to get to the product. But you're focusing on the journey and having fun along the way.
Yep.
Now, I also understand that there may be a performance or something. Are you planning something about collaboratively crafting a show from your creations? Is there an intent for there to be a big reveal?
We never know at the beginning, but what always happens is that somebody comes up with a story and you end up creating something that, gee, it would be really lovely to share that. And oh man, that song that we just made up with David, wow, that is awesome. That song really needs to be sung out loud to people. And so, yes, there will be a sharing.
Yeah.
It's not going to be a big production. It's a sharing of what happens in the workshop. And quite likely the audience will experience a little bit of gameplay as well.
Excellent.
So the intention is to have a show at Grey Roots and then another show potentially in Wyerton.
Very good. Now I know it's just begun, and I think the workshop continues until, is it somewhere in March, March 20th? Do I have that date right?
Yeah.
Right, yeah, pretty well. The last Wednesday in March will be our last day at Grey Roots. Yeah.
Right. So I know it's early, but what are you hearing from those who have already attended? What's the feedback so far?
Great. Like simply great.
Yeah.
And one person said, "Oh my gosh, well, I knew it was going to. I hoped it was going to be fun, but this was really fun." And just that idea of it's never too late, or this is exactly what I want to do. I talked on CFOS about this, and somebody heard me and said, "Yeah, I want to do that. I think it sounds really good." And that sense over and over again of, I've always wanted to do something like this, but it's never quite been the right moment. And now I realize now is the time. Like, I have to do it now. What am I waiting for? And it's Joan and my job to say, yes, we're going to encourage you to let's do it, and make an environment where you feel like, yeah, cool, try stuff.
Yeah.
No one is gonna be weirded out. No one's gonna judge you. In fact, we're working against the little judge on the shoulder, say, "Get out of here! I'm just playing."
So I've asked you what the participants have said, but from both of your perspectives, what are you saying as a result of the first, the early days? Any surprises for you? Anything that you really didn't anticipate out of this?
Didn't anticipate all that snow.
Yes, we actually had to cancel the first two Wednesdays because the roads were impassable, and it was just too dangerous. So luckily, we've got a long run. I guess I didn't expect that. Although it happens every time, although these workshops are really fun, they're also very moving because people reveal quite poignant things that are so relatable. And you feel when they're sharing this that they may be things that they haven't shared in this way. And when you start doing that, it's quite wonderful to have a group where not everybody knows each other. We're having to repeat names still, 2 weeks in, but there is that sense of, hey, we're in this together. This is great, and we are encouraging each other. So just in terms of the creative thing, that's so exciting. But you can actually see how working within an artistic way does absolutely contribute to health.
Yeah.
Absolutely contribute to health, because people are relaxed, they're listening, they feel like they're being listened to, they're inspiring each other, there's physical activity, they're telling stories, they're making these new connections. It's all good.
So certainly, as you're describing it, the joy of the creativity is part of it, and no matter what age.
Well, you couldn't do this on Zoom. I mean, you could do it on Zoom, and during the pandemic, we did do things on Zoom, which were creative.
Yeah.
However, the human being in the same room with a bunch of other humans, some different things happen. It's like the difference between going to hear a concert and seeing a concert on TV or in a film.
Yeah.
They can all be absolutely beautiful, but there's something that happens when you're breathing the same air and you're experiencing something in real time with each other.
What you're really describing is an opportunity for relationship building. People being in community, but relationship by being in relation and sharing things and sharing stories, which is quite profound, actually. Sometimes.
Well, I mean, Joan has worked with groups like this from the very inception of theater. Before I moved up here, and actually before Sheatre moved to Grey Bruce. So Joan, you're the person that should weigh in on how this whole process happens. How does it all work? And it works time and time again.
I've been doing this since I was a kid. And Sheatre is in its 39th year.
Wow.
We're going to be 40 come November. It is a matter of inviting people, and you never know who's going to come. You don't know what the outcome is going to be. So it's about, as David said, encouraging to develop the courage to come. And most people have something that they really want to do, that they really need to talk about, that they really, they're invested in it. And that has happened time and time again in the hundreds of projects that we've done. It is a place where I always feel tremendously rewarded and enriched, and my heart just swells. And I know that it does for everybody who's involved.
Mm-hmm. And they reveal that. And
Yeah.
they're not, and they tell you, they tell each other. Yeah.
So this workshop, the art form, the creative process is actually part of a social prescription
Yes, it is.
for health and well-being.
Yes.
Not just individually, but as a community together, which is quite a remarkable thing. There's not a lot of forums, I don't think, for that kind of activity.
And certainly there haven't been for the last number of years.
Yes,
Mm.
yes, for sure,
Mm.
for sure. Certainly, and I know we've got about a minute left in the program. It always goes by so fast when we
Yes.
chat. Do you anticipate people, when they leave this particular workshop, will continue to be connected with each other? Hard to predict.
Well, there was one workshop we did where two people came in at the beginning of the workshop, and shortly after the workshop, they got engaged, and then after that they got married. So you never know what's going to happen. And I'm not putting any money down on that happening again, but it did happen. And you make
In a seniors workshop.
yeah.
That is incredible. Now
Because life is not only for the young, right?
No.
It's for everybody. We're all alive.
Absolutely. I want to thank both of you for being on the program today. I've enjoyed this so much, and it just has lifted my spirits in these snow-filled days, just to have this conversation and to know that this opportunity is out there. So I appreciate it. Thank you to our viewing audience for joining us today. We've been talking with David Sereda, co-producer of Sheatre, and Joan Chandler, the artistic director of Sheatre, about the Out of the Blues workshops. Please join us again to learn more about programs, services, and resources available to you and to your family. Take care and stay well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Connect with us by visiting our website or email us at comments@rogerstv.com.
Our TV Sports Wrap every Wednesday as myself, Spencer Byers, and our esteemed panel talk about everything you need to know going on in football, basketball, baseball, hockey, and soccer as we joust about what's going on in sports, keeping you up to date on Rogers TV.
Are you a passionate content creator ready to expand your audience reach? Do you have unique stories, captivating hobbies, or special interests that deserve a spotlight? Rogers TV is here to amplify your voice with